Welcome back, everyone, to another Eats Beat podcast, the 200th, and working on our 10th year. I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
In 10 years of Eats Beat podcast, we've talked about food all over Dallas, Fort Worth. We've seen the Fort Worth restaurant market grow. One of the early podcasts, one of the oldest online, we were begging people to go eat the restaurants in this place called the Stockyards that just didn't have any business out there. So we've seen all the markets in Fort Worth grow. We've seen Clear Fork. We've seen the medical district, West 7th. We've seen the restaurant business grow. And over 10 years, one of the people who's been most involved in building restaurants and growing restaurants in Fort Worth is our guest today, Fort Worth Craft Barbecue King, Travis Heim. Travis, good to have you.
That's quite a title. I don't know if I've earned that, but I really appreciate y'all having me.
Well, it's tough to call you the Craft Barbecue King with 5 restaurants, but the Craft Barbecue is something. The guys who win the Craft Barbecue prizes all work 1 or 2 days a week and sell out. They sell out and go home, and they're on the golf course by 3. And
that
you're
sounds
out
much better. Yeah,
and you're out there.
Started. He did that. I mean, look at that.
Oh, he did that too. That's and that was when Travis, did you start? That was your truck in.
Yeah, we opened the food truck February of 2015.
2015 over on Hattie off the South Freeway, and it was the Heim barbecue food truck, and it was Fort Worth's first craft barbecue kind of experience. And I remember seeing people lined up. I remember driving on I-35 and seeing the line that stretched down Hattie onto the bridge over the freeway to get Heim barbecue.
Pretty amazing. We'd have people that would show up as early as 6, 7 in the morning, and I'd tell them to go home. Like you're here way too early. But yeah, it was fun. There's a lot of stuff that we miss from those days. But it's another just different sort of problems and fun experiences we're doing now. So.
Well, it's fantastic you to join us for this celebration. We need to start out by saying that Heim Barbecue now has restaurants on West Magnolia in Fort Worth, 1109 West Magnolia, and on White Settlement Road in the River District in West Fort Worth, and also in Dallas on Mockingbird Lane near Love Field, and it has restaurants under construction in Old Town Burleson and in Hudson Oaks. Did I cover them all? Is there another new one I didn't cover?
As far as I know, yeah, I think that's everything we got going now. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
From this.
It all started from the trailer. And at the time, to Travis, the people who meant the most to restaurants in Fort Worth the last 10 years have been you and John Bonnell and Tim Love. And when you started out, I mean, Tim Love was the big dog and you were the little guy with a truck, and now you're kind of one of the big dogs. How did you grow from the truck business to being a 5-unit success?
Wow. Well, first of all, to be included with those 2 guys is, I don't know, unwarranted. Maybe I think they've done a lot more than we have. But I don't know. We when we opened the food truck, we had $100 in our bank account. It was my wife and I, and we were just kind of going for a dream. And I had cooked barbecue with some really talented people in Austin, and kind of learned a lot of the craft sort of scene, and saw what was going on there, saw places like Pecan Lodge in Dallas, and we just had an opportunity and went for it. And it wasn't really a great plan. It's not like we had a business plan or any sort of real idea of how to make things work. And then I think over time it's from, seeing that photo is really interesting, just because it brings back a ton of memories. But the last 7 years or however long it's been, it's really interesting. I think the goal was always, even in the food truck, how can we serve our customers, give them a great experience as far as the food, but also a fun atmosphere. And when we had an opportunity to open a restaurant, we basically took like, okay, what are all the positives of that? What are the negatives? People standing in line for 3 hours, that drove me crazy, and was not something that we felt, was sustainable. And so we've tried to just kind of build organically, and, having these opportunities to open a few more stores. It's just really been, is it an area like Burleson or an area like Hudson Oaks, where we feel like there's an opportunity, people want our food, but also we can be a part of that community and not just like in a strip mall somewhere, something like that. So I'm really proud of our team. At this point, we have about 160, 165 employees, which is completely different than, I think in that photo that Steve showed, we had one employee, Rowdy, who was our baker slash pitmaster extraordinaire. So it's really, really cool to see. But to answer your question, I don't know how we've done it. We're just kind of taking it day by day.
Steve, you saw the craft barbecue scene explode here.
I was wondering how he came up with these bacon burn ends, because that seems to be something that I think that was one of the first things that seemed to really put you on the map there.
Yeah, that was big. We did. So the full story is we did, I guess, what you could call pop-ups. It wasn't really even thought out of as pop-ups. This would have been 2013 maybe, where I'd always wanted to do barbecue and was interested in barbecue, and was broke. So it's like, there's no way that I could open a restaurant or do anything. And so I got a smoker from my Uncle Roger in East Texas that he would weld a bunch of different smokers and stuff. And he just gave it to me. And so we brought it back to Fort Worth and started cooking on it, and then realized this is completely impractical to cook for two people. So we started throwing parties, and we called it Meat Club. It was T&E Meat Club. My wife's name is Emma. And it was as simple as an excuse for me to cook a bunch of barbecue. We'd have somebody play guitar, have a bunch of cold beer, and just throw a party. And it's like, old school revival tent. Everyone just throws some money in a hat, and that's how we paid for it. So it started with that. We did an event where I was just being really obnoxious, and I said every single menu item is going to have bacon in it. So we did like 4 or 5 courses, and even the dessert had bacon. And so the idea was, let's take and make our own bacon, out of pork belly slabs, cold smoke it, cure it, do the whole thing. But the idea really came from Kansas City style burn-ins, which is where they'll take a brisket kind of halfway through the cook process, slice it in half, take the fatty in, cube that, put some more sauce on it, some more rub, and then toss it back in the smoker. So it looks like that photo basically just out of brisket. But to me, it's a little bit sacrilege to do that to a brisket, right? I mean, I'm a 6th generation Texan, so we're not putting sauce and tossing it and doing all that. So what if we took a slab of bacon and did kind of a similar technique to a Kansas City burn-in? And that's where it started. So we did that. That was the first course in one of our Meat Club events, and that's all everyone ate. Like the entire rest of the meal was not eaten because everyone was so full from the burn-ins. We took it to like church the next day and just gave it all out. But it was a moment of like, this is really cool. And I thought people would be interested in it. And it was insanity. People were really excited. So it was like, well, if we ever open a food truck or we ever, get lucky, maybe we'll put that on the menu. So that was on the menu day one at Hattie Street at the food truck. And people were like, what the hell is this? Like, had no idea what a bacon burn-in. But yeah, people love them now.
And it really drew attention first. What's you and Emma's background? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you eat barbecue growing up? What were the early influences on you?
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm born and raised in Fort Worth. I grew up, my parents' first house was actually on Fairmount, in the Fairmount neighborhood, just right behind our Magnolia store. And then we moved over to kind of Ridgely area. So I've been in Fort Worth my whole life. Emma was born in California, but then they moved, her and her family, to kind of East Fort Worth area when they were younger. So yeah, I feel like I get offended, I think, at times when people are like, oh, this new barbecue boom and all this stuff. I really feel like Fort Worth has had great barbecue for a long time. It just maybe wasn't, recognized as such or didn't get the media credit. But I have memories of going to Angelo's. My grandfather was a diehard Angelo's fan. We go to Railhead, of course, Risky's, even Bailey's downtown. I have very fond memories, I guess, of all that stuff. And so I think that's something too I try to, think about is, I guess I can get maybe too annoying about it, but, thinking about the history and thinking about, just what Texas barbecue is and what it means to me, and then how we play a role in that. We want to do new stuff and do creative stuff, but we always want to, have reverence and give respect to the guys that have done it and did it for a long time before we did.
What inspired you to get started with craft barbecue? You said you'd been in Austin kicking around.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say now because I guess, people really like barbecue and it's kind of become this thing. But like the first brisket I cooked, I was 12 years old. And my grandfather had an old, like Oklahoma Joe or whatever they call it, like steel offset smoker. And it mainly came from just kind of wanting to emulate him. He would cook ribs all the time. Anytime there was a big family function, my uncle, who we got the smoker from in East Texas, they would cook all the time. Had some great old stories about him and cooking in East Texas. And so it's kind of around it. Nobody did anything professionally. My mother's a phenomenal cook and works with us now. And my grandmother, the same, just great a home cook. So it was always kind of around cooking and really, really liked that. And then I think just being able to cook barbecue at a young age, it was like you can play with fire and mess with knives. And, it really interested me. And then just kind of quickly became an obsession, and then in college, we would save enough money for a 30-pack of beer and a brisket or, a couple racks of ribs to cook on the weekend. And really, I guess the first smoker I got was a Smoky Mountain that my in-laws bought for me. And that was when Emma and I were, just dead broke living in Tyler, Texas. And I'd be like, hey, I'm going to cook a brisket. And, I felt like I learned a lot of patience, but also just the amount of pressure when you realize like, okay, I'm going to cook this brisket and we're going to have to eat it for the next week and a half because we can't afford any other food. And it makes you learn how to cook brisket, pretty quickly, I guess. So I've just always been around it and interested in it. And then I think, timing, it's a God thing or whatever, but I met a bunch of the guys in Austin, John Lewis specifically, who was at Franklin and then La Barbecue, and then Aaron Franklin, and, kind of did a bunch of different events with them and learned the food truck, more high volume style cooking, and learned a lot. And so we actually thought about moving to Austin to cook down there at a couple places. And then I found the food truck for lease on Hattie Street on Craigslist. I was looking up propane tanks on Craigslist to try to build another smoker to have enough space for our meat club events. And then I saw that the bar that was there at the time had this food truck for lease. So we literally spent all the money we had on a deposit and pulled our smoker up, parked behind it, and opened up.
So how many days was that? It seemed like there was just certain days you could go there to get your barbecue back then.
Yeah, I think we started when we first started, we only did like Wednesday and Saturday, which was only like a week or two. And that was because I had a job working for a oil and gas company in town and had gotten laid off. So we just went for it. My wife really talked me into it. I got cold feet and she was like, this is your dream. You just need to, go for it. We'll figure it out. So she said that knowing that, we only had one car, and then she was working for a different oil and gas company full-time still when we opened the food truck. So she would come and cashier when she got off work. And then Saturdays she was off. And so she would cashier. And then I think about 2 weeks in is when we went to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think at the peak, we only did 3 days a week, and it still was, 90-hour weeks, just absolute insanity. So yeah, but it was fun. I mean, it was cooking all day. I was there at the food truck, just about 24 hours. A lot of times I'd sleep in the bar after they closed, or we had a minivan that I would go and try to get some rest in, and then be back open or be back awake at 4:35 to get all our ribs, bacon burn-ins, all of the morning stuff on.
We should mention now that you're open 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Magnolia in the medical district, and then 6 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the River District and in Dallas. Do I have that right?
Dallas is 7 days a week.
Dallas
yeah,
is 7 days.
River
So
District, yeah,
River
closed,
District closed
Mondays.
Monday. So
Mhm.
open breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. If you have to go to Dallas, if you have a trip, if you have a doctor's visit or something off of Mockingbird or Inwood, it's not far to go to Heim. And so Heim by Love Field is 7 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go on your way to and from the airport. And of course, the one in the medical district is close and convenient for everybody. Steve, do you remember early Heim? The early Heim, the bacon burn-ins were a phenomenon, and the brisket has gotten better over the years. But what do you remember?
Yeah, I remember early Heim, and I remember when they finally, I was really excited when they were opening up their first restaurant, and it was going to be open 7 days a week, because because it was like you had to time it out like Wednesday. I'd see it. Maybe I can get there on Wednesday, but there's already a line wrapping around. So I'm going like, and then it seemed like y'all opened up and y'all went like gangbusters for like 5 or 6 days. And all of a sudden, it was like y'all had to take a break.
Yeah.
Because it was so popular, and I think you went through all the meat or whatever. It just wasn't planning for such a deal, or I don't know if it was like, you just haven't done. You were doing it only like 3 days a week, and now you're having to do 7. But yeah, I was real excited that y'all went that way, and you started doing things like corny dogs and
corny dogs and hamburgers.
Yeah. Hamburgers were the big one.
I like
best,
corny dogs.
the fanciest and best corny dog in town. That used to be a one night a week thing, and now it's I guess it's a craft corny dog. It's a gourmet corny dog for sure. Made with a sausage. Made with is that your recipe sausage? It's not it's a Heim sausage corny dog, right?
Yeah, that's right. We offer them with 44 Farms hot dogs, or you can get them with any one of our sausages. So we do it's kind of like a kielbasa style, a jalapeno cheddar, and then a pepper jack that has a little bit of chipotle too. And that was just a goofy thing. Like I think we started it. It was the state fair, and we were busy working, and so we couldn't go to the state fair. So I just thought, I personally wanted a corny dog, and so we just made a corny dog. And I told Emma about it, and I was like, I want to do this special. And she was like, this is so stupid. We're not going to sell any. And I think we sold something like 200 corn dogs the first day. So we make the batter ourselves, and we use Billy Jenkins beer, which is a local beer made at Wild Acre, in the batter. So it's a little fancy, gourmet option.
I ran a photo that day, and everybody called after that and emailed and said, "When are they having corny dogs again?" And it was just, it was something different and a big hit. It was something different from a big barbecue plate. Well, everybody knows about your brisket, ribs, sausage. You actually have a new meat item to talk about. So, Travis, you've given in. Tell us what's new on the menu.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point, it's you're trying to get creative, just anything to offer, some affordable options the way that the meat is now. So we're doing some smoked chickens, some half smoked chickens, and that comes with a side. And those have been really good. People really enjoyed it. I've been anti-chicken for a long time, just because I feel like they don't hold well, and so it's something where we're taking it off, right before service for lunch to make sure it's as good as possible and the skin is crispy how we want. We take those and brine them overnight, and it's mainly just a basic brine, but it has some herbs and some citrus, and then we actually inject the chickens too with that brine before we smoke them. So it's this really kind of juicy, chicken's got some good smoke, and then hopefully the skin's, a little crispy on the outside. we're
This
doing the
is where
burgers. I'm sorry, go
this is where Steve's supposed to put up a photo of the chicken, but he appears to have lost his
ahead.
signal there for a second. So, what's nice is the chicken. You get a half chicken, and you get one of the sides for $16 or something like that, $16, $17, and it's a
Yeah,
half chicken. You can really split it. I mean, it's really enough food for two, even though it's a one dinner, and so you can really do well. And if you're not eating brisket that day, then you can have the chicken. You were talking about the burgers, and the
absolutely.
burgers have become a big hit too.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, we sell a ton of burgers, and that was another thing where we started out at Magnolia. We only did it on Mondays, and it was a way of like, okay, Mondays are a little slower. We had a 24-inch flat top, so it was a pretty small flat top for burgers, and we did it Mondays, and then it just blew up. Uh, you were a part of that because you put anytime you post anything, then it blows up. So then people were coming in every day asking for burgers. So we switched and got I think a 60-inch flat top, which is an absolute gigantic flat top at Magnolia, and went with those every day. And then now we have them at all the stores, every day. But it started out as just kind of like a specialty thing. And then one of the reasons too, we have in the burgers, we use a 44 Farms ground beef, which is really great stuff. But we mix our smoked brisket into the patties. So it's not I wouldn't call it a smash burger, but it's, hopefully has kind of a harder sear on it, two thin patties. And then you get some of those pieces of brisket and stuff here or there. And a lot of times that's from leftover brisket. So it's the same thing with our potato skins. As much as possible, we try to eliminate waste. We don't want to overcook. We never want to reserve anything that's not 100% quality. So it started out of that of like, okay, what's something that we could do with this leftover brisket that also is still going to be really good that we think is up to our standards, and people love them, and people have wanted us to do a burger place forever. And that sounds a lot better than barbecue right now, but I don't know if we'll ever pull the trigger on it.
You really have built a reputation for sides too, and the craft barbecue places in Austin, started out with a reputation for not just carefully tended brisket, but also for having some special twist to the sides and some homemade sides. But I don't want you to spend a long time talking about your sides, but just mention what people like the most, and some of those are family recipes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just about everything on our menu is either my recipe, my mother's, or my wife, Emma. So things like the loaded baked potato salad, which is our potato salad's a little different. It's got a sour cream base, bacon, cheese, green onions. Now, places all over the state are doing that and doing a similar thing. And so just everything on our menu is scratch made from some of our recipes. And there's a few places, like Slow Bone in Dallas is a place where they have just absolutely incredible sides. There's a few places in Austin, like you were mentioning, where I think that changed because I work for guys that were like, I don't care about sides, and
Yeah.
would literally buy Cisco potato salad and throw it on the thing. And, it's just about the meat. That's all that matters. And I think that's been something that's really cool, probably the last 5 years, I guess, where, you see places making their own bread, their own pickles. I mean, every part of, what's going on is thought out. And I think it's cool. I think it's kind of elevated, barbecue quite a bit to where
Well,
it's,
that's the other night I ordered a chicken dinner and told my wife what I'd ordered, and she said, "Well, get some slaw," and then she said, "Well, get some potato salad," and then she said, "Well, now don't forget the banana pudding," and it's like, so it was like stack up the sides along with it because all the sides are good.
yeah, yeah. And we
See,
serve 8-ounce portions on the sides, which a lot of places do smaller. But I've always felt like it's like our sandwiches. Our sandwiches are way too big, but I want you to be able to come in, and if you want a sandwich, you can get a meal out of a sandwich. And most of the time, if it's a couple, then they'll just share one side, or it's too much food. But
how much of a test has it been expanding and growing the way you have, and serving so many hours, so many places?
it's difficult. and we kind of knew that going into it. We got a taste of it when we opened the second store. I mean, that was really, I think, where we had some hiccups early on, in my opinion, where I thought, the barbecue could have been better. We do a lot of things like on the sides. We have a commissary kitchen office, which is where I'm at right now in White Settlement, and pretty much all of our sides are made here, prepped here, and then those get sent to the restaurant. So things like the cheese sauce for the mac and cheese, the potato salad, they like mix on site, but they make everything here. So there's a few things that we've done like that where we know who made it, when they made it, we know the quality, when it's gone out. And so that's helpful. But the hard part is barbecue. We cook the barbecue on site at every restaurant. And so we've had a lot of success where we have really, really strong people in the smokehouse, guys that I consider, some of the best pitmasters in Texas. We have a guy, Jesus Martinez, who's our head pitmaster. He's been with us since Magnolia for a long time. And at the end of the day, they just really care about what they do. So there's things where there's technique, there's policies, procedures, everything for how we do it. And that's uniform across the board. But at the end of the day, it's people, and having the right people that really, really care and work hard. I think that has led to the consistency and us being able to expand and grow. Because without that, it wouldn't be able to.
Steve, we talked about the chicken while you were gone. You want to show the chicken and then ask about the margaritas?
Sure. Yeah. So
there's that chicken we talked about.
Beautiful.
So how long have you been doing the chicken?
We started it not that long ago, I guess a few months back. And like we were saying, it was really just an idea of what are some more affordable options we can do. I mean, the way that the brisket prices were, you're like asking a family of four to take out a second mortgage to come and eat at your restaurant. It's just, it's ridiculous. And so I think, having the burgers, having, even salads and different options with chicken and stuff, we wanted to be able to, have some things where, okay, this isn't a once a week meal, I can come in and have a lunch or something and not pay an arm and a leg. So
you had the Corny Dogs.
The Corny Dogs, yeah. We do $2 corn dogs every Tuesday.
Right, get that with a margarita.
This will help a lot.
Yeah. These are, we're doing $5 margaritas, and we're doing, and that's every Thursday at the stores. And then we do $2 corn dogs on Tuesday that I lose money on. So I need to cut that out, but that's all started from like COVID, just stuff of like, okay, thinking how can we bring people in? How can we, give some options, to do it. And it's been good. Those are our rubs. So we're working with, we have all of our rubs and sauces available for sale in the restaurants on our website and at Buc-ee's, I think something like 15 Buc-ee's locations. And then we're in talks with Central Market about getting those and our sausages, to retail sausages there. So I'm hoping we can pull that off soon, but that'll be cool.
Speaking of COVID, that was speaking of COVID, that was one of the lessons from COVID was the Heim family pack and being able to order the family pack and go around the back of the Magnolia store and pick it up the window. You didn't have to wait in line. You didn't really have to go inside except to the window and take home, a good family pack of dinner that would feed a lot of people or feed people over a couple of nights. You'd get a whole bag full of barbecue. And so the family pack and the takeout service, if you don't want to wait in line or if you think there's a long line, just go around the back. There's a takeout window there if you order ahead. So it worked. Do you have a takeout window in Dallas?
No, we don't. We have like a separate POS, cashier thing where you can walk up and do it. But and then two, we have on our website, heimbbq.com, you can pre-order. That's better for bigger orders, big to-go orders. But then we're working on a system now for online ordering. So I'm hoping to have that up and running in the next couple of months where if you just want to come in and get, lunch real quick, you can do that. So we're trying to make it a lot easier, offer delivery. We haven't really done that in the past, but do some different stuff too to just make it easier to get the barbecue.
Where are you at on Old Town Burleson and Hudson Oaks? And what's the next location, food item? What's the next new?
Well, as you know, things are slow everywhere. And so Burleson, specifically is taking a lot more time than we like, but it's still full steam ahead. And actually all of our plans and everything for the restaurant are done. I think we're waiting on, they should be pouring a slab soon. And the whole thing is a developer's building that building for us, and then we'll take it over and do our build out. So once that happens, then, it shouldn't take us too long. So we'll see, but they're building a whole, big center there next to Old Town in front of City Hall. There's a big park area right in front, like where our front door is. So you're going to have, farmers markets, big concerts, all sorts of stuff. We'll have a rooftop bar, second story bar, which will have a stage for live music. So it's really, really going to be incredible, but slowly, everything is slowly. And then Hudson Oaks is great. We got approval yesterday, I think, for an easement change, which is not that important, but it's important for the construction process. So we're working with ID Studio 4 out of Dallas, some great architects, and that spot in Hudson Oaks will be a lot like the river location, where it's about 6,000-ish feet inside, and then big patio, big outdoor area, stage for live music. It's kind of right off of the highway, just a little bit west of the HEB and everything out there. But it'll have a ton of parking. I mean, that's the thing, is I feel like every location we open, we're like, okay, we could do this a little bit better. Let's tweak this. And so we're really excited about that. And then I have no other plans. I mean, I barely have enough time as it is to see my daughter and my wife. So I don't want to open any more restaurants anytime soon, which I probably shouldn't say, but that's how I feel.
Well, let's see. I had one more question about these rubs. That bacon burn in, or the burn in dry rub, does it have like a bacon burn in recipe on the back?
No, it should. We did actually a video with my friend Matt Pittman of Meat Church, and he's got a huge YouTube following, and sells rubs and stuff. And so we actually did. I've done a bunch of different videos and TV shows, and I've never really actually shown how we did it. And with Matt, we did a detailed video where that is literally the exact rub that we use for burn-ins and for our pork ribs in the restaurants. Selective Seasonings in Fort Worth makes it for us, and then they bottle it for us. And then the beef rub is our brisket rub. We put that on our brisket and also on our beef ribs. And then the sauce is obviously the same. So if you watch the video, you buy the rub. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be perfect, but I think you could get pretty close, maybe.
Well, what do you use?
Yeah, we use oak. It's mainly all oak, and sometimes there's some pecan mixed in, but that depends on the wood guy.
Travis, do you think Fort Worth is reaching any sort of barbecue oversaturation? Somebody asked me the other day, what are some neighborhoods that still don't have a barbecue place, and I gave them really a pretty good list. I mean, Lake Worth and TCU, and I guess Danes will take care of that some, but there are quite a few parts of town that don't have a neighborhood barbecue place right now. Do you think we're getting anywhere close to overbuilt on barbecue?
Yeah, I don't think so. I wouldn't say yet. I guess I would compare it. It's not like Austin. I think Austin is, which I probably shouldn't say that, but it's like there's a lot of places in a really kind of packed area that all kind of do the same thing. I think what is really cool about the Fort Worth scene is even though, like take where we are with Magnolia, and then Panther City, went into our old food truck. You have Bricks that's right up the road. You have Smokeaholics that's not far. Danes is, kind of further west. Everybody has sort of their own thing, Smokeaholics and his Soul BQ, is really cool. A lot of unique stuff. Panther City, obviously doing the Tex-Mex type stuff. So I think it's and everybody kind of has their own hours. It'd be one thing if everyone was on the same schedule, but I think it's unique to the point where if I really, want great brisket elotes, I'm going to go to Panther City. If I really want, Danes has really good sausage, homemade sausage. I think everybody kind of has their own thing, but I get asked, every day by guys that want to do a food truck or want to open up. And I think, the last thing, it was different when we opened a food truck because there was nobody to compete with on that level and anywhere near where we are. But if you look at North Fort Worth area, I think there's plenty of room out there. I think even, look at the places we're opening, Burleson, Hudson Oaks. Those are spots where I feel like you could open a barbecue place and be successful. I think that's just the biggest thing. You've seen places that have opened that, haven't really worked out, and it's because, there's not really much they're doing that's different than another spot. So I think barbecue too, and Bud, you may have an opinion on this. It's kind of like Tex-Mex in Fort Worth, where most folks are eating Tex-Mex once a week, maybe, and they have like their favorite place, but then they also have 3 or 4 places that they also like going to, this or that. I know that's how we are with our favorites. So I don't know if it can get too oversaturated. Maybe it would take a lot, I guess.
Yeah, we talked about the 3 basic food groups in Fort Worth that Jerry Flemings used to write about it, the Star Telegram 50, 60 years ago, that in Fort Worth you had to stick to the 3 basic food groups: barbecue, chili, and fried. Those are the 3 basic food groups for Fort Worth. And in the old days, people argued about whether Sammy's was better than Angelo's, and then along came the Railhead. And so, but there's always been, people have always had favorite barbecue places, and some of them they like for the barbecue, and some of them they like for the beer. But it's
right.
You have different places that have different purposes. You talked about North Side. I think the whole Alliance Haslett area is an area I point to that really needs a craft barbecue place, or needs some sort of barbecue destination. You talked about Austin, the congestion. The thing is, in Austin, it takes 30 minutes to go to the barbecue place across town because of traffic. So they need more barbecue places that are little neighborhood places. Here people can go, if they go over to River District on Monday and it's closed, they can run over to Magnolia in 12 minutes and, not really miss out. But it's still pretty easy to get around here. We've talked about so many things. You have done such a great job when you first opened. I think I don't remember if I actually told you, but you open up and I said, well, when he gets into a brick and mortar, then we'll know he's really making it. When he pays rent and gets a space, it's one thing when you're on a truck on wheels, and when he gets into a brick and mortar, then he'll be a big deal. Obviously, you're a very big deal. Congratulations on your success and all your growth and everything you've done here. DFW.com and the Star Telegram have been happy to be writing about Heim and covering Heim for 10 years since the very beginning. And the pictures and videos, a lot of them by our predecessors here on the Eat Speak podcast, by Rick Press, by Robert Philpott, by the people who worked so hard to make this podcast a success. Everything we've ever written or published about Heim has been a big hit. So anyway, thank you for your great help, and thank you, Steve, for making 200 podcasts possible. And thanks to everyone across Texas and around the world who listens to find out the best restaurants in the Metroplex. Thank you. Until next time, I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
Thanks, y'all.